Why punishments don't work and how behavioral programs could change. This is taken from foster homes and rehab centers I went to in an old timeline. The one home center, it used to once be a small center, I went to multiple occasions, proved how inefficient child destroying services are. Here are some rules and situations it had. 1. Disrespect and inappropriate content. That rule was so vague and variable they could warn, ground and punish you for anything you said or did that looked slightly obfuscating to an employee. Commonly this happened over the ignorance of employees about meme culture, always resulted in meltdowns. And when you had to prove a foolish punishment you got over a miscommunication because many employees were culturally diverse, no one believed you and you had no power because you're just a lying delinquent. 3 TVs were sacrificed by one very angry person, however it's just a personal thing of hers. And arguing how much TV was even more addicting to these teens more than how addicted I was to internet. I was the one who never dared to look at a TV because it deeply manipulates your brainwaves at a level so reptilian I immediately run away from any television nowadays, but I mean the internet has its own ways to getting into your mind too. It's artificial intelligence and I have created energetic protections. None of them new to shield from EMF beams. 2. Door slamming. What would happen is that for an accidental door slam, you'd get grounded and no one could out-question the punishes. 3. The program gives the teenagers frequent activities that burn up all their excitement, then expect them to obey and behave. Then there are these repetitive board or card games no one really cares about. 4. Some teenagers attached too much with certain employees out of codependency, then felt betrayed easily when the employee were just applying the consequences in the program's handbook gain rules. 5. They're all tightly packed, stirring up mega loosh. It equals a billion Scoville units. 6. Staff member egocentrism and amateurism. It's a whole Dunning-Kruger effect show and many make it a smarter, wiser and holier than thou game, or seem to. I felt the energy like wind. So many employees tend to jump in and out of that wagon and take the youth's behavior personally with such low self-esteem or developing a temporary persecution complex. Some get hired only so they enjoy a power trip and they seem to be very adept at words and manipulation. Occasionally the employees would get so absorbed in their little cliques and staff dramas they would neglect attention on the teens, but it's not that serious. But when there came the biggest brat in the universe, all attention was on handling the case and other more serious teens got a bit left behind. They asked the teens for advice on how to do the job. Handling behavior programs requires so great patience and sparkle. Like that would even be responsible when these advice requests are done every day. They won't care that much. I might be going a bit awry here, but I basically got forced into a staff coach role many days. 7. No one seems to ever grow up, not even employees. 8. Triangulation, bullying and rejection between the youth on a chronic basis and directed at employees. 9. You almost always get grounded for accidental rule breaking and accidental triangulation of demands. 10. Isolation protocol, the punishment that was bigger than a grounding. Many hours in quarantine doing chores. Usually this was a response to running away, multiple groundings that follow from a reaction to a grounding, or extremely unaccepted behavior. 11. Nearly every soul here was so obsessed with the rules that both staff members and youth were in an eternal egoic war for control. These systems are controller magnets breeders. Most of the energy is the decay of sanity. 12. It works on a routine with 1,000 exceptions to every rule, so all the teens who go there end up frustrated and stuck in extreme jealousy wars. Control addiction. These youth try to impose communism in the program where every person has exactly the same things and deny most or all responsibility. They remember every egoic injustice. So as a result the privileges get lesser and lesser and every little detail of life was controlled down to portions and some basic needs, even to the point of only being allowed a toast or cereal for breakfast once. They called it a preventive measure against wasting and overindulging food because of one single person who would refuse to respect her diabetic condition. So I refused breakfast for a while in protest of the desperacy because I would not have thrown a meltdown. And I was even going vegan back then. Talk about a funny transition. You want communism and yet you protest against the very thing you wanted as it gets real. So ambivalent. Too clever. I wanted them to accept their own privileges but no one could. It was a classist battle. Note that they have been abused in their root chakra in the childhoods too, so it creates insecurity over needs, a spoiled need for absolute demanding control, and very childlike misguided equity justice. 11. No true spiritual progress is created because half of the teenagers returned after one stay. That happens because these youth only opportunistically pretend to improve to leave faster and just want to escape or simply don't care. How? They know. They in some form or another partly or fully know, each of these originally brilliant souls, they are likely the most targeted generation as a whole culture for the soul origins, collective nature of contract and blood. They know the matrix well. They have been habituated to seeing its tricks and have a whole army of starseeds, 1,990, 2,000 plus children are majoritarily so not from Earth. They know that the generation was heavily endangered by the horde of the Cabal's army. They know profound change is needed and that society was very behind. They know that they are special. They are more spiritually connected and abundant than older gens in general. They are aware they are to see a special outcome in this new golden age of Aquarius. They know there is more to life. They know that all these psychiatric jails are useless and that they are closer to the divine nature. No matter how astray, they still know. I incarnated in 2002. I always saw that we were chosen. We connect so deeply. I am one of these higher vibe, softer 2000 starseeds, so even my own generation was 99% incompatible with me. Don't even start me on what they have been memeing about since 2014. Many indigos are waking up middle-aged in human years, those BPRN before the internet. Some 80s starseeds were more born aware, but our lives as young starseeds are 10x sped up. More social media involved versions of the Dark Knight, training and awakening process. And a lot more quickly changing. We have several cycles a month, in a week, or even a day that would take several weeks, months, or years for a boomer indigo to complete this one lesson or cycle. How intense. We get it all at once. Let them adjust as they are still young and many figuring the edge of the surface of these manipulations and co-created matrix realities. Deep down they fake it all at school and in centers. None of them truly desire to change as they have a strong sense of protecting their inner seed or flame of knowledge. These programs are based on controlling and isolating a person, expecting them to change their ways. 12. They punish you severely for bringing drugs or taking drugs, or talking about drugs, alcohol, which seems nonsensical as this is about rehabilitation, but it copies the old Cabal's jail system anyway and they fear bad influence. 13. You are fervently subconsciously stereotyped. 14. They were able to give a punishment that prohibits you from contacting your family if you were grounded. Cutting the core attachment in an already traumatized teenager is not a reasonable choice to me. Conclusions. I had to give advice to so many employees there for 2 whole years of multiple placements, despite being a teenager and feeling like a staff coach, and just my simple presence was a huge relief and grounding anchor. I showed them benefits of meditation, but some were too bored or excited to participate. While being exposed to daily extreme negative energies, borderline level narcissistic people and pathological energy suckers, bravely did I meditate every single day like my divine self instructed me to keep on doing. I opened portals of transmuting rays around the new house and it triggered pivotal bursts of emotion and explosive releases of suppressed darkness at specific points. I was always calm and non-violent with people in general. I volunteered to go there myself but did not want to be at that specific place. In vain bevors of some discriminative diagnosis procedure, no one proved to me exists, which ruined my entire school and social life in that timeline, but I still stand and found myself past rock bottom. I have far more power than I thought. When I said my sole purpose includes hospitality, I was very accurate. I meant it well deeply and it is a hard-paid career. Now that was a huge contribution in my lightwork and shadow work. I often did the shadow alchemy of collectives in a classroom, home or tightly packed setting. I get vacation now, but in lemuric homes I am always more than ever ready to do that shadow work assistance, and it could be easier due to the harmonic convergence, my built-up skills of resistance being more relaxed and open with the sensitives that lemuric is designed to welcome. I am ready to boost up healing for any louche stirred there, but I will not accept any more narcissism, pathological Nazis or daily domestic energetic violence. I'm retiring from that. It is done already and it was for training. Now it's just unacceptable. I need to save my health bar to high. If you are one of those healers and shadow workers that still want to get into my team but apply for the ones who are astray from all reason, I'll create a redirection to a different external program that is specialized for intense healing of this kind in an individual basis. I figured it doesn't work to put so many highly dark possessed souls in a packed unit, so I won't. I will send these fallen, aggressive starseeds in the Pleiades or a GFL property base ground for healing in the ships. Until antiviolence frequency grid fences are active, this will be the main way. If you have a small starseed child with violent tendencies, then okay, maybe we can work it with one child at our bases but not 3. Addendum: child destroying services have trafficked youth as slaves and prostitutes for decades since the CIA began, and even before the Cabal had done this for centuries. This is the deep end. I am just merely speaking of a highly dysfunctional program that exists in the Quebec's CRDI and DPJ, our own CPS, which we all want to see fall and be replaced, and it is the moment now after all these years of no progress with ET intervention. The CRDI was DPJ for disabilities, so much abuse, neuroprobing, lies, neglect, manipulation, control and discrimination has lived long in both organizations, and I've walked through all of that neurotargeting darkness myself, but is very similar to rehab behavioral programs in general in America and Europe. Some families are like this, and I feel disappointed. Tiuli.